Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another rebuild, and thank you to all the love that you guys have shown on the rebuilds on FM23 so far. Today, we are taking our talents to Italy to be the Sampdoria manager. And why Sampdoria, you ask? Well, on screen, you can see this is their club. If we go into their club history and go into their club overview, you can see that they won the Serie A, the Scudetto, in 1991, which was the year I was born. So I thought, let's take over them and see if we can return them to a former glory. Obviously, they've won a few other things as well. The European Cup Winners' Cup in 1990, so they won the Italian League in the 1990-1991 season. So we thought we would try and see if we could get them back on top of Italian football. They have a decent history in the Italian Cup as well, 1985, 1988, 89 and 1994. No European honours for them, and they have won a Serie B. Sampdoria start in Serie A, so hopefully we won't be dropping that far down to have to worry about recouping one of these trophies. In terms of their league history, over the last 10 years, you can see since they got promoted, when was this? In 2002, 2003, they had a little spell in Serie A where unfortunately they were relegated again in 2010, 2011, promoted the following season, and then have been back in the Italian top flight ever since. So their last season's finish was 15th, and their highest finish since they've been back in the Serie A is in 7th, which they did in 2014, 2015. If we go back onto the club info screen using this amazing skin, which you guys can get, I will leave link down in the description. You can see this is how things look. They've got great training facilities again, which is really, really nice. They have pretty decent youth facilities as well. Good junior coaching, good youth recruitment as well. So this is the competitions tab. Of course, we are in the Serie A. We also have the Coppa Italia to worry about as well. That board expectation for the Italian league is to avoid a relegation battle, and there are several teams that could possibly win the title. We are given odds of 500 to 1 alongside Empoli in that first season to see how we do get on. Obviously, the familiar faces that you would expect at the top of here: Inter, Juve, Milan, Napoli, Roma, Lazio, Atalanta, even Fiorentina. These are the big boys in Italy who all have a chance of winning the Scudetto. So that is our goal eventually. I don't think it's going to happen season 1. We'll be trying to do this and trying to get the job done over 5 seasons. Obviously, in terms of the first season, we won't be adding anyone new in the summer. I want to try and at least keep that first season authentic as possible. And in terms of that, this is the tactic that we will be running. We are using the 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪 Dynamite. I know there's lots of tactics out there at the moment, but this is by far the most consistent tactic that I have used. Now, I've picked our best 11 here, which does have Candreva in the starting lineup, and he is currently out on loan, which is ridiculous why they'd loan a player to someone in their own division. But this is the team here. There's some interesting players here. The fact that 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪 is here, we will be trying to keep a English player at the club the whole time. I don't know how feasible that's going to be, but 𝘼𝙗𝙗 is here on loan in that first season, on loan from Spurs. But ultimately, we have an okay team. We're quite old. Gabbiadini is probably one of the main threats in the team. He's 30, so hopefully he can be a mainstay for us for the remainder of this save. Very well rounded in terms of some of his attributes though, but if we go onto his contract, you can see he's on a decent wage as well, so hopefully he can perform for us. In terms of some of the other ones, obviously we've got Caputo, Quagliarella, who is 39 years of age, but I still expect him to score a decent amount for me this season. His mental's fantastic, physicals not so much. So we are going to power through this first season, and fingers crossed we have a good one and avoid that relegation from Serie A. So season 1 of this Sampdoria rebuild is over, and we've managed to finish mid-table. We finished in 12th in Serie A, which I'm actually quite happy with, and nowhere near that drop zone really. We finished on 44 points. 26 was the mark to get yourself safe, or well, 35 was the mark to get yourself safe, but you only had to outscore Spezia, Lecce, and the team at the bottom there, who I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce because I will 100% offend somebody. So we finished in 12th though, 12 wins, 8 draws, 18 defeats, -4 in terms of that goal difference, and 44 points. In terms of the Italian Cup, I wasn't overly worried about that. It was more about a season of consolidation in the league. We were knocked out, unfortunately, in that second round by Spezia, who did get relegated, which is you know, always good to get knocked out by a team that are worse than you. But I did touch on 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪. He is the top goal scorer for us in the league. 16 goals for him in Serie A in 30 appearances, which isn't too bad. But he is now 40 years of age. Is the main man. If we go onto the home screen, you can see a little bit of stuff there about us, and this is the main man that I wanted to talk to you guys about. In the first January, sorry, we went out and signed this guy, Elia Caprelli. This guy is one of the elite goalkeepers in this year's game. He's young, he's Italian, so I thought he would be perfect for this rebuild. I went out and signed him in the January with all the money that we had for 5 million quid. So he will be our goalkeeper moving forward next season. Only kept 7 clean sheets in 25 appearances in Serie A, so hopefully he can go on and be a lot better. I didn't know that he was a Leeds United player until someone mentioned it on Twitter to me, but he looks like a very good goalkeeper, and I've seen in simulations him turn very good for us. If we go into the transfer history as well, lots going on here. We've had quite a lot of players go in and out, but lots of them on loan to our affiliates. So we have some money going into season number 2. Not lots, just under $500,000. So we will be trying to scrimp and save and put all of that money into our wage budget going into season number 2. And fingers crossed we can pull in some players to improve on that finish in Serie A this season. So we are ready and waiting to go into season number 2 of this Sampdoria rebuild. And if you do enjoy the rebuild content, guys, please do drop a like on it down below to let me know that you are enjoying the content, and consider subscribing to the channel if you are new around here. Maybe you're picking up the content for the very first time. It really does help. And also, if you like the rebuilds, let me know down in the comments who you would like to see me rebuild next week or in the future. Please do let me know. I'm always intrigued to see who you would like me to tackle next. But now we dive in. This is transfer update for season number 2. We've had a couple of players leave us, which obviously we will talk about. The most high profile, I would probably say, is Ronaldo Vieira. He had no interest in renewing his contract with us, so he has now left the club on a free transfer, which is a big loss for us. I was hoping he'd stay at the club for the entirety of the save, but alas, he did not. We've also sold this guy, Mehdi Leris, Algerian international. No youth caps. Algerian international. I can't see where you see that on this skin. It just says he's born in Algeria. But there we go. He has gone as well. He has gone to Udinese for £2.2 million. He played quite a decent amount for us in terms of appearances last season, but that 6.66 average rating, not good enough. So I was more than happy to let him go. Let's talk about the players that have come in and joined us. We've got this guy, Federico Gattoni. He comes in from San Lorenzo over in Argentina. This is a massive step up for me in terms of centre-back. I think he's a very well-rounded player. 24 years of age. Obviously, he does occupy one of those non-EU slots. He's consistent. He likes big matches, and he has a nice little transfer value now of 4.9 to 5.8 million, which obviously, when brought in on a free, is very good business. We also picked up this guy, 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪. If you watched any of my saves last year, you know this guy is very good, very consistent, can play up front or out on the left-hand side. I'm hoping he can be a nice addition to us. He comes in for Deportivo Guadalajara or Chivas. He comes in again on a free transfer, guys. So make sure when it hits January the 1st, you're out there scoping out these free transfers, because this guy will vastly improve our starting 11. We also got this guy as well for 600k. This was a pre-arranged transfer for us. I don't want him. I don't want this guy in the team. So, yeah. 600k gone on him. We also signed this guy, Filippo Bandielli. He comes in from Empoli. Very nicely well-rounded central midfielder. Nothing spectacular about him, but nicely well-rounded. Obviously, we had Ronaldo Vieira leave, so we have to kind of try and replace that sort of ability. And speaking of ability, we brought in Cher and Dor. Nav Nkang7, if you're watching, he's one of your boys. He comes in. He's young, 19 years of age, been released by Benfica, a former Atalanta player, of course, but 19 years of age, 6'3", supremely well-rounded to play in that central midfield. I don't necessarily think he's a player to start for me right now, but a little bit further down the line with a little bit more development, I think he could be a future star for this team. I went out and got the big man, didn't I? I thought we needed a striker. I've not actually heard many people talk about Lorenzo Luca in FM23. Of course, he was the starlet last year. Lorenzo Luca, is now a Sampdoria player. Now, he is obviously on loan at that first season in Ajax. He didn't play very well or at all in Holland, scoring 1 goal in 4 substitute appearances. So they did not buy him from Pisa. So I did. For £3 million from Pisa, they've turned a profit of £1 million. And now he is a Sampdoria player and will be leading the line for us. And then we also signed this guy as well. Gabriel Strefezia is how I'm going to butcher this dude's name. He comes in. He is a Brazilian. He comes in from Lecce. They were relegated, of course. He comes in for £3 million. The reason I bought him, guys, is because he is a natural on both flanks, which I think is very much needed in this team. He's quick, he's tricky, and can play on both sides. So as again, I said in this 4-3-3, we needed bodies and we needed to get the job done. If we quick pick without restriction our best 11, this is how we're looking now. Caprelli comes in as the keeper for the start of the season, so I'm hoping he improves there. Ganotti comes in as a new player as well. Bandielli is new as well, as are the 2 wide players, and then it's saying Gabbiadini is the main man to go up top. I will, of course, be playing Lorenzo Luca up top, so I will most likely do something like this. So I think this is how we're going to run going into the season. Hopefully Lorenzo Luca can get the job done. I've strengthened at the back of the back of the team in terms of Caprelli, and I've strengthened at the top of the team in terms of Lorenzo Luca. So I'm hoping we can have a better finish this season. This year the board wants us to finish in mid-table. That is the expectation. If we go on to the season preview and take a look, we're still 500 to 1 though, guys, so we are expected to finish in 14th. I would like an improvement upon that. Obviously I'm not expecting superb things. Let's hope for the best in season number 2. So season number 2 is in the books, and we have definitely improved upon that finish last season in the league. This year we squeaked in and finished in 6th. Now, however, that is unfortunate for us, because I thought we were going to qualify for the Europa League by finishing 6th. However, Atalanta went and won the Coppa Italia, so they qualified for the Europa League, unfortunately, meaning we dropped down into the Europa Conference League, which isn't the end of the world. I'm actually quite interested to see how we do get on in that, but there is quite a clear gap between myself and then the teams behind, and then all of the big boys at the top. AC Milan win the title on 91 points, Juve are second on 90, Inter on 80, Napoli 79, Lazio 74, and then ourselves on 63. So the gap is quite big, which we do need to try and close. But obviously we were predicted to finish in mid-table, and we have superseded that. We have done much better, and I'm hoping by being in a European competition we start to attract some bigger names and get a little bit more money into the club. In terms of the Coppa Italia, guys, we were knocked out in the quarterfinals by Lazio. We lost 2-1 to Lazio. Potentially this could be a competition we could win. They have already won it 4 times in their history, so maybe we could add one potentially to the mix by season number 5 potentially. So there we go. Season number 2 has been pretty jolly good, actually. Lorenzo Luca, top goal scorer for us, 21 goals in all competitions. He's good, but he's not as good as he was in FM22, that's for damn sure. At least not yet. Maybe it's because he didn't really play for a year, and maybe if you took over at Ajax and played him right off the bat, he'd be much better. I don't know. His average rating and his goal return is pretty impressive, but I'm expecting big things for him over the course of this rebuild. Going into season number 3, we've got a little bit more money to play with now, £1.5 million in terms of that transfer budget, and around an extra £100,000 a week in terms of our wage budget, which if we make this adjustment and we just put it all into our wage budget, we've almost got, what's that, 120k a week wage budget to play with, which is definitely going to be good for recruiting some of these free agents. So let's simulate through the summer, get our transfer business done. I'll be back for season number 3 right now. Transfer update going into season number 3, and the biggest scoop I can say is that we got this guy on a free transfer. Danilo Cataldi, an Italian. Obviously he is at Lazio at the start of a save. Lazio just let him go, and it absolutely baffles me. This guy is the perfect CDM for what we are trying to achieve here. I brought him in on a free transfer, and obviously I'm hoping his sort of experience, he is 30, he's got a continental reputation. I'm hoping his ability at this club will be able to drive us to that next level and also be quite good for us in Europe. He's got some good traits that I like. I like that he moves into channels. I like that he doesn't dive into tackles. Mentally exceptional, and obviously just to prove, he did come in on a free transfer from Lazio. In terms of some of the other business guys, I did say that I would be trying to spend no money in terms of purchasing players this season, so we went out and got a load of free transfers. 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙈, he comes in from Juve. I don't believe he played once for them last season in the league, got 7.4, which is actually okay. He comes in on a free transfer, another Italian to bolster that defensive line. 𝘼𝙗𝙤 comes in. He is a former Watford player. He was on loan to us in season number 1. Watford let him go. He is now back after a season in the Championship where he scored 12 goals actually, which isn't too bad. Better than he did for us in Serie A that first season. Now he's back and he's our player. I'm hoping he can go from strength to strength. Obviously, clubs have seen some value in him. Udinese buying him for 7 million previously, as did Watford. So there is obviously some value in there. Here is our Englishman, Ryan Sessegnon. He was released by Tottenham and he is now our player. He's been training very poorly, but I think he's going to be our left back for the remainder of this save. Obviously on a free transfer. Has barely played for Tottenham, played a decent amount in that first season. Second season, not so much, only 3 appearances, mostly as a substitute. Now he comes to Italy hoping to rebuild that image and maybe, I don't know, get into the England squad, who knows. Daniel Podence rounds off the incomings, I guess. The former Wolves man, good on the ball, can't shoot. It's an option again, guys. He's scored depth, and again, he can play on both sides, so adds a lot to us in terms of that depth. This is the main outgoing though, Marco Pizzarello. Not a defender for me that I would like to use very often, so he has gone to Empoli for 550k. That could rise to 1.5 million with some of those add-ons. So the team going into season number 3. This is how we quick pick the best 11. This is how we're looking now. So there's definitely a bit more of my stamp on it. Caprelli in goal. Rugani, Gattoni and Sessegnon are new additions to this back line, alongside the Barbatos is how I'm going to say this dude's name, because I'm not even going to attempt his last name. Polish international right back. Eat your heart out, Matty Cash. Cataldi is there in the midfield to anchor that, and then we've still got Gabbiadini, Machis and Lorenzo Luca up top. I'm hoping Luca has a monster season this year. In terms of the competitions, we've of course added the lovely green and black Europa Conference League to our plate this season. Obviously we do have to qualify though, so that's going to be an interesting start. We obviously do have the Coppa Italia, and then we do have the Serie A as well, as we push forward. In terms of the season preview though, if we take a look at things, we are 300 to 1 this year to get the title, which again I don't think is possible this year. There are still a lot of better teams in the division than us, but the odds are creeping down. It was 500 to 1 last year, and of course you do have that Europa Conference League to potentially vie for as well. So we are going to power through this season. We're going to simulate it. Let's see what happens come the end of season number 3. Season 3 is done and dusted, and we have gone and won the Europa Conference League. I don't know how this has happened, to be perfectly honest, guys. We've somehow managed to absolutely smash it, and what a trophy that is. It looks absolutely brilliant. We went all the way to the final, beating CSKA Sofia in the final. We are alongside Roma, Villarreal and Newcastle as winners of this trophy. We win the final 2-0. Goals from Lorenzo Luca and Filippo Badiadini getting the job done. We absolutely smash it, winning our first piece of silverware in this rebuild. In terms of the Serie A, we've done pretty well in here as well. We've done quite nicely. We finished in 6th, which again is pretty good. We are on 68 points, I think that is. Yeah, 68 points, which is better than we did last season. Last season was 63, so we've improved by 5 points. We qualified for the Europa League correctly this time. No Coppa Italia winner is booting us out of that competition. 20 victories, 8 draws, 10 defeats, a positive goal difference by +20, and we are aiming to close the gap on some of these big boys, but you would expect Lazio at the very least to bite back at some point, probably next season. Ultimately, I'm ecstatic with this season, and I think we've done superbly. Lorenzo Luca, again, let's give him a shout out. 33 goals for him in all competitions. 33 goals and 9 assists for Lorenzo Luca. And you can see in the section details there, he is wanted by Milan, Inter, Juve, and Napoli. I'm hoping to keep hold of him. I don't know how possible that is going to be. In terms of the finances and stuff, we've got 2.2 million going into the Europa League year, which again, of course, we will most likely just push all into wage budget. Gives us almost another 100k a week to play with in terms of wages, which is fantastic. So I'm hoping we can attract some big names as we push forward in our Europa League adventure. Unfortunately, the Serie A is still kind of evading me a bit. Season 4's transfer update is going to be a very, very quick one because we've had a few outgoings, as you can see on the screen. Jason Murillo, not that one, has left the club. He's the only player who left for any money. 120k he has gone off to play in the Turkish Super League. We've brought in this guy on loan from Chelsea, 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙯. He looks nice, a well-rounded young Italian, again 22 years of age. I think he can add a little bit to this central midfield. I tried to bring in players like Rovella and stuff like that. They're not having it. Just not having it at all. So he comes into Sampdoria on loan from Chelsea. I wanted him last season, but they wanted too much money for him. So he comes in now and we're only paying his wages. But I do have to touch on a player who is coming in. Now, if you've seen my video on my Wonder Kid filter, you will see how you find players like this guy. But we have signed Mahmoud Fayez. He comes in for 45k. Now, this guy is currently 17 years of age. He's capped at under 23 level for Egypt. We've picked him up dirt cheap. He comes in, fantastic stamina, really, really nice mentals, and already brilliant technicals. He's 17 years of age. He's going to come in. He's going to probably be a starter for us. And we signed him for 45k. So if you've not seen that video, which will be on the screen now, please do go and find it on the channel and go and find out how you pick up players like this guy, because he is a absolute beast and I paid next to nothing for him. So as you can see there, we're paying 23 up front. It could rise to 45.5k. So please do go and check that video out. In terms of the competitions though, we've upgraded from the black and green to the black and yellow. We are now in black and yellow, black and orange. Steve, stop. We are now into the Europa League this year. The board just wants us to be competitive. Obviously, we go into the league phase. Now I'm into season 4. It's no longer group stages. We are in the league phase. They want us to reach the quarterfinals of the Italian Cup and finish in the top half of the Serie A. In terms of our improvements, we have jumped up a little bit. We are now predicted to finish 9th with odds of 150 to 1 to win the division. If we go into the tactics though, guys, and we quick pick without restriction our best 11, my main things are that Caprelli is still here. He's still developing. He still looks like a fantastic goalkeeper. 17 positioning, nice stamina, good one-on-ones. He's a very good goalkeeper, very, very good. But Lorenzo Luca is also still here. He is currently wanted by Tottenham, Manchester United, Tottenham, Milan, and Inter. God, I really can't read today. So he is still wanted by some of these big clubs. Maybe they will try and do something at the transfer deadline, but his transfer value is 26 to 31 million pounds. So if he does go, I'm going to be quids in. But this is the team going into season number 4. Caprelli is there. Dapioli is now the right back. He comes in. It's a position I'd like to strengthen, really. Rugani, Gattoni, Sessegnon, Cataldi, Bandianelli is there. And Dor now makes his stakes his claim for this midfield spot. Stefenzia is out on that side, Machis, and then Luca up top. We do have some depth options as well, but I feel like I'm going to need to potentially add some more bodies here. I'm probably going to dive in to some loans, but simulate the season because we're on the start of the season. We're about to take on Monza in our first game. Let's simulate and see how we get on in season number 4. So it turns out, guys, 6th is the best I can do in Serie A currently, but we've been successful in Europe. And by successful, we've won the bloody Europa League, guys. We have beaten Manchester United on penalties to win the Europa League, to add to the Europa Conference League that we won last season. The historic bounce up is on if we can potentially win the Champions League next year, which we're not going to do. But obviously we are a part of the Champions League by finishing in 6th. That's well of qualifying for the Champions League as well. So we have loads of teams going into the Champions League. Of course, that's because of the expansion. Obviously, we will take a look at this final. We did win. The final was at Hampden Park in Glasgow. We did win 5-3 on penalties after a 0-0. So all of our players scored their penalties, and Kenneth Taylor from Ajax was the man who missed the all-important penalty for Manchester United to see us lift that Europa League title. In terms of Serie A, though, we did finish in 6th again. A slight decline on last season's points total. Last season's points total would probably have seen us finish 5th. But ultimately, there is some interesting work to do. But we do go into the Champions League. And the Champions League means big, big money. £19.3 million. This is huge, considering in that first season we had next to nothing. And a nice wage budget increase of almost, 80k a week is pretty darn good. We've got a lot of money to play with, and we've also got a squad that is quite lean. So I need to improve some of these things. But Lorenzo Luca has signed a new deal with us. He is still here. He had a good season again. Let's bring him back up. He had a good season last year. 29 goals in all competitions for the big Italian, who is now capped by Italy. Thanks, Lorenzo. That cost me some money to Pisa. And then Caprelli is still here, obviously, as our two kind of star players. I'm going to go out and spend some money. 19 million. I don't actually know what I'm going to spend that on. It is that part of the video, guys, where I ask you, if you are still watching this video, to comment something down below to let me know that you are still here as we are about to go into season number 5 of this Sampdoria rebuild. And what I would like you guys to comment this week would be Forza Sampdoria. That's all I want. The 2 words, Forza Sampdoria. Please comment that down below. It should be on the screen now so you guys can see what I'm asking you to comment. Please do let me know down below if you are still watching at this point. But transfer update going into season number 5, the 5th and final season. We've let a couple players go out on free transfers, let a couple players go out on loan, but you guys don't care about that. You guys care about the players that we've managed to bring in, starting with Jose Marsa. He comes in on a free transfer, the former Barcelona La Masia, probably. Yeah, he's got to be La Masia, hasn't he? Youth project. He's gone over to Sporting to play his football, and Sporting didn't like what they saw, evidently. He played 31 times for them last season, which is crazy. We signed him on a free transfer. He is here to bolster our defensive capabilities. He can also be deployed at left back if required. I'm valued at 15.5 to 17 million, so a very good pickup for a freebie. We went out and used the new gem filter as well to sign this guy, Carlos Devinuto, maybe, let's say that. He is a Uruguayan. He's 19 years of age. He comes out of Nacional in Uruguay. He looks like an absolute beast. He's 19 years of age. I think he's going to go on to be a very good player. Obviously, he does come in as a non-EU slot, but I think he would grow to be a very good centre-back. I actually think he might start a bit this year, to be perfectly honest with you. But we needed some experience, so we went out and signed Danny Carvajal for £1 million. I said I wanted to improve on that right-back position. This guy has won it all in his career, and I thought his wisdom and his ability to lead a team from experience and stuff like that would be very beneficial for this team. So we went out and spent £1 million on him. He is 34 years of age. Sure, I understand that. We'll probably only get a season or 2 out of him. Sure, I understand that as well. But he has been part of Real Madrid's team for a lifetime, almost, barring a season on Leverkusen before they brought him back. But he will add some depth to that squad in terms of that right back spot. We also signed this guy, Marco Bertini. He comes in, another body for that central midfield. Obviously, we're running 3 central midfielders, or 2 central midfielders in a DM. So he adds another little bit of depth there. He's 24 years of age, 6'1", will be doing the job for us there. Then the big money signing. I hope this isn't a flop. That's what she said. Marco Asensio comes in to play on the right for us. He looks like every bit of a creative wide man that I am looking for. Great first touch, fantastic long shots, lovely passing and technique, good flair as well, good natural fitness. I'm expecting this guy to be an absolute stud. We bought him from Inter Milan. We picked him up on a free transfer from Real Madrid. Played a little bit in Serie A. Was very good in his first season. Pretty darn good in that second season, despite not playing a lot. And then last year didn't really set the world alight at Inter, so we paid £13.25 million for him. And I think it's a very good upgrade for us on that right-hand side. And then I picked up another freebie. Andrea Belotti comes in as a veteran, dare I say. Belotti comes in. I'm looking for him again to be a backup to Lorenzo Luca. I've given him the number 9, but he's not going to be our starting striker, that's for sure. But I think he can be still effective in Serie A. Let's have a look at his history. Obviously, he does come in on a free transfer. He's played a bit part at Roma this entire time. Obviously, he is behind Tammy Abraham there. So again, he's going to come in behind a very large, tall striker and hopefully score some goals from the bench for us. I'm sure some of you guys will be interested to see how Fayez is doing. He has improved quite a decent amount as well and is our starting choice player. He's just been playing in the World Cup for Egypt. He's now got 5 caps for Egypt. If we take a look at him, played 16 times for us in Serie A last year, and in terms of his milestone, he's won the best young player at the World Cup. So you can definitely see that that Wonder Kid filter does work, doesn't it? So if we quick pick without restriction our best 11 going into this season, not a lot has changed really. Carvajal does come in on this right hand side, and Asensio comes in on the right hand side as well. So we've got that Real Madrid connection, which I'm hoping will develop quite quickly, especially considering they are both Spanish. In terms of the competitions though, we obviously do advance into the Champions League, having won the Europa League last year. We've also got the Super Cup where we take on PSG. I'm expecting to get pumped there. We've also got the Coppa Italia, where they want us to reach the quarterfinals, and in the Serie A they want us to finish inside the top half of the table. I am enjoying that they are not overly ambitious, to be perfectly honest, and I will say that we have also increased in the coefficient. The Serie A is now the 3rd best league in Europe, which is quite nice. In terms of the season preview, 50-1, so we are an outside shot to win the title. I don't think it's going to happen. Inter, Juve, very, very strong. Also, as I said, I would expect to see something Lazio come back and resurgence up the table. But they have got rid of Immobile. Ciro Immobile is now playing at Spurs. So swings and roundabouts. Interesting to see what can happen. Let's simulate this 5th and final season. If we could somehow, I don't think it's possible, but somehow go from Europa Conference League to Europa League to Champions League winners in back-to-back seasons, what a journey that would be. So the 3-tier European challenge was a little bit too much, a little bit ambitious for Sampdoria, but Season 5 was very, very good. I've been supremely happy with how this save's gone, to be honest. Like, the progression has been season on season, but we've been very good. We finished 3rd in Serie A. We finish on 76 points as our highest points return this whole time. Inter win the division. Juve are above us. We got knocked out in the semi-finals of the Champions League by Manchester City. If we take a look at the semi-finals, yes, we lost 8-4 on aggregate to Man City. Yes, they did batter us in the game at the Etihad, but ultimately I still think this is a very good showing from our team. Obviously, 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪 netting a hat-trick in this game, and their team's quite good, isn't it? It's actually not had many additions to it, just Kieran Tierney. By the looks of things, everyone else is actually still a Man City player, which is very interesting. They go on to the Champions League final, and they beat PSG 4-0. So it shows that we were quite good this year. We were runners-up in the UEFA Super Cup. Let's talk about that one. We lost 4-3 to PSG. It was the Kylian Mbappe show. He scored a hat-trick in this one, and Jamal Musiala scored another one for PSG. We did try our best, but Kylian Mbappe scored in the 90th minute. So it's kind of what happens, isn't it, when you come up against Mbappe. However, we did win the Coppa Italia. So I did add a 5th Coppa Italia to the trophy cabinet, despite not being able to pick up a Serie A title, which was the main goal of the save. But we did win. Lorenzo Luca scoring in the 98th minute to get that winner in extra time against the old lady. So a very, very good end to what has been a fantastic journey with Sampdoria. If you would like to pick up this save, if you are a Sampdoria fan, or you would like to carry on this save, especially for that Egyptian wonder kid that I do have, Links to this save will be posted in my Discord a day or two after this video has gone live, so you guys can pick things up. And if you have enjoyed the rebuild content, guys, check out this playlist, which is all of the rebuilds that I've done so far in FM23.